You're welcome to another edition of the video lessons on New Focus Approach to Mathematics Basic 7 Revised Edition. And in this video, we want to look at equivalent ratios or proportional quantities. How we can apply ratio and proportion in solving questions. This lesson can be found in page 160. So we'll take example to explain. Based on our previous lesson, we learned how to compare ratios. Now here we have a boy mix every two cups of garri with 5 cups of water to make lunch for his friends. Find the missing numbers in the table below. And so we are looking at comparing number of cups of garri to number of cups of water. So remember the rate that we did. We are comparing two quantities here. Number of cups of garri, number of cups of water. They don't have the same unit, but we can do the comparison. So it means that for every 2 cups of garri, he has to put 5 cups of water to mix it up in order to get the lunch. All right. So it means that if he picks 100 cups of garri, he will need 250 cups of water. If he picks 200 cups of garri, he will pick 200 Y cups of that. So you can see that the ratio actually can also be exist over here as 100 is to 250. And that also can be reduced to give us 2 is to 5. So that means 2 is to 5 means 2 divided by 5. Now I can use it to find for the missing numbers here. It means that if 2 is to 5 is the ratio and we have 200 is to y, then we can say that 200 divided by y should be equal to the ratio, which is 2 divided by 5. And if you do simple cancellation, or cross multiplication, you have 2y is equals to 200 times 5. And when we divide both sides by 2, you will get something like this. So you are going to get 200 times 5 over 2. And that can be calculated, all right? So when I do the calculation there, I'm going to have 2 can divide itself 1, 2 can divide here as 100. And so we have 5 times that will give us 500. So it is obvious that if I double this 100, I get 200. When I double this one, I'm going to get 500 in place of y. I hope it makes sense that way. Good. So y is 500, right? Good. Let's do the same thing for 600. So for 600 too, we are going to also say that we have 600 is to z as 2 is to y. Sorry, 2 is to 5. Again, if I do the division that we did, 600 divided by z is equals to 2 divided by 5. Okay. Again, when you do cross multiplication, we have 2z is equals to 500. Sorry, 5 times 600. And when we divide both sides by 2, we have z is equals to 5 times 600 divided by 2. And again, when we do simple cancellation, we are going to get 2 divided itself as 1 and divide 600 as 300. So we are going to have 5 times 300, which will be 1,500. Okay. So we can do the same thing for this one to find the value of m. This time around, it is the m is to 2,500. And we are going to compare that to 2 is to 5 again. So whilst we have m over 2,500, we equate it to 2 divided by 5. Again, with cross multiplication, I have 5m is equals to 2,500 times 2. Okay. Now, again, when we divide both sides by 5, we are going to have 2,500 times 2, all divided by 5. And 5 can divide 2,500 as 500. Okay. And the 500 times 2 will give us 1,000. So the m will be equal to 1,000. I hope it makes sense. Go ahead and do it for the n as well. Okay. whilst we take the last example under this. A man died and left a sum of money to be shared among his 3 children. And the children, we have Joe. So let me use J for Joe. Let me use E for AC. And let me use A for Abba in the ratio of 3:7:6. So 3:7:6. Right. Now, AC received 105,000 Ghana cedis. How much did Abba receive? And how much more did AC receive than Joe? So the man is gone. He left his property for them to share. We don't know the amount of money that were given to them to share. Okay, but we know that out of the total amount of money, AC received 105,000. So what we have to do is that we need to find our total ratio over here. Now to find a total ratio, we sum everything here. We sum 3 plus this plus that, which will give us 16. Okay, now AC, whose amount is this, his ratio is the 7. And remember that in ratio and proportion, the order in which the names were mentioned will be in the same order in which the ratio is given. So what it means is that 3 respond to Joe, 7 responds to AC, and 6 goes to Abba as well. And so it means that the fraction of AC's share is going to be 7 out of the total ratio, which is 16. Okay, now when we multiply this total ratio, the total fraction, by the amount given, which I don't know, let me call the total amount as n. Then it means that if I divide this by n, total amount, the result should be the amount that AC received, which is 105,000. So we make n the subject. Remember, we've done equation. So you can now simplify this by making n the subject. So we can write this as 7n over 16 is equals to 10500. Right. So we do cross multiplication. Okay, cross multiplication. And let me do that here. So remember, we have 7n over 16. 7n over 16. Okay. And then it's equal to 105,000. Good. Now we want to make n the subject, so we cross multiply. So we have 7 times n times 1, and then 16 also times 105. Okay, now since we want to make n the subject, we divide both sides by 7. So now what is left is for us to do our division little by little. Okay, so the question is, can 7 divide 105? Yes, and that is possible. And that will give us, so 7 can divide 105 as 15. So what it means, I'm going to have n is equals to 15, then 1000, then times 16. So we are now going to multiply that. So we can also do 15 times 16, right? Which is very easy to do. Of course, that will give us 240. Then we attach our 3 zeros to it, which will be 240,000 Ghana cedis. So this was the amount that the man left for the children to share. And out of this, AC had 105,000. Now, the next question we want to find is, how much did Abba receive? So Abba's share, and Abba's ratio is 6. So it means that her share is going to be 6 out of the 16 times the total amount that they are to share, which is 240,000. And here we can do simple cancellation. We know 16. Okay, let's take it one after the other. 2 can divide here as 3, and 2 can divide here as 8. And we know 8 can divide 24, right? So when 8 divides 24, we have 3. So I can do this. 8 divide itself 1 and 8 will divide here as 3. So I have 3 times then 3 0 3 zeros, which is 30,000. So 30,000 times 3 will be that's 90,000, right? So 90,000. Now, what it means is that Abba with her ratio of 6 will receive 90,000. So then the next question says that how much more did AC receive than Joe? So let's find out how much Joe will receive. Okay, now I can do that here because I can have this space to do it. Now Joe is going to receive, Joe had ratio of 3 out of 6 times 240,000. Alternatively, we could also say that when we add Joe's AC's amount and that of Abba, we subtract from 240 to give us the amount that Joe will receive. Or we go by this. So here we can say 8 can divide here as 2 and 8 can divide here as 3. So once again, we have 3 times 30,000 divided by 2. And 2 can divide itself 1 and divide 30 as 15. So we have 15 times 3, which is 45. Then we attach our 3 zeros. So Joe received the least, which is 45,000. Now, if Joe received 45,000, comparing Joe's amount to that of AC, and we want to know how much more did AC receive than Joe. So it's a matter of just picking AC's amount, which is 105,000, and then we subtract 45,000 from that. And when we do that, we are going to get 60,000. That means AC received 60,000 more than Joe. And it's obvious because Joe's ratio is 3 compared to 7. 7 is huge. All right. So with this, we come to the end of this lesson. Thanks so much for watching. Go ahead and solve more questions.